Hello everyone, I'm Venuka Goyal and welcome to Thursdays with Venuka. So today I'm going to tell you the true story of how I found out the reason why my great grandfather and my great grandmother had matching names. So when I was a kid, we used to spend a lot of the summers at my grandparents' place. And right now I'm talking about my paternal grandparents, like my dada dadi, my father's parents, right? So they used to live in Jammu, and we used to live in Bombay, like me and my parents and my sister. And those days we used to travel by train. So it used to take 36 hours to reach there, and it was a fairly long journey. And it was an event that we used to look forward to. Like I used to like spending time at my grandparents' place. It was a different city. The local language was different. The weather was so different. The houses in Jammu were so much bigger, and it was less crowded. It was just a different experience. And then we used to get to meet a lot of our cousins, and it was fun. But something that I remember from those summers that I spent at my grandparents' place is that my grandfather, he used to really like maintaining family trees, right? So he used to have this big sheet of paper on which the names of all of our ancestors and all would be written. And whenever some distant cousin has a baby, it would be updated. It was a pretty large family tree, and frankly speaking, I didn't really even know most of the people who were on that tree, but supposedly they were all related to me. So it was quite fun. I used to like going through that family tree and see what kinds of interesting names a lot of my relatives had. And I noticed something that a lot of the couples in the older generation, like my great grandparents generation, they used to sometimes have matching names, right? Like a Radha Kishan would be married to a Radha Mal or something. And I used to, notice it, and I used to feel, how cute, that they found each other, how romantic that their names match and they ended up getting married to each other. But I never really talked about this to anyone. So I was like, whatever, in my own world, but observing things. But much later on in life, I realized that it was probably not all that romantic as I imagined it to be after all. So now, fast forward to many years later, I was in my mid 20s, and I was living in the US, right? I was doing my PhD at the Ohio State University, and in that same university, there was this Indian guy who had an arranged marriage. So he flew down to India, and his parents made him look at like these prospective brides, and then he ended up marrying one of them and brought her back to the US with him. And so we met her a few times, and talked to her and all of that, and she was a nice lady. But what I noticed was that he used to call her some different name, and then on the social media she used to have some different name. So initially, I thought it may be one of those, pet name kind of things. Like in India, many people have a different name that they're called at home, like a ghar ka naam or something like that, right? Like I don't know, like Abhishek Sharma or whatever, may be called like a Chunnu, Munnu, Tunnu, whatever at home. At home you have these pet names like a Chotu or whatever, something like that. So I initially assumed that that's the reason why she may have two names, but then actually both of our names sounded pretty like names. They didn't sound like those ghar ka naam or the pet name kind of silly names that we have at home. So one day I just casually asked them about it, like, which one is like your official name that you use on your documents and stuff. And that's when I found out that she had been asked to change her name after she got married. Like when she got married, her in-laws told her that you have to change your whole entire name, like even your given name. And it was a bit surprising to me because I heard so many cases, and I've seen like a lot of people, a lot of the women, they change their surname after they get married, right? They adopt their husband's family name or whatever. In fact, I have also appended my husband's family name to my name after I got married. It's not that uncommon, it's fairly common. A lot of people do it, but I had never heard about something like this before. And so I just asked them, like, why did you have to do this? Like, what is going on? I've never heard about someone changing their like first name after they got married. And they said, no, actually her name was like the same as her mother-in-law's name, right? And they were like, we shouldn't have so many people with the same name. I mean, this happens when a child is born, right? Like if a child is born in a family, you try to pick names that are different from the names of all of your close relatives. So but still, I mean, when someone is getting married, they've had that name for a long time, and she was not a very young bride or anything. She must have been in her mid to late 20s. So she's had that name for a long period of time. She has like degrees by that name, and she has a had a job in India where she was known by that name, and then she left all of that and came to the US. And apart from changing the whole country and this and that and everything and becoming part of a new family, now she's changed her whole entire name also. So it just felt a little, I don't know, I was just a little irked by the whole situation, that why would someone ask her to just change her name, and why would she agree? And it just bothered me a bit. I don't know why. I guess I just really like my name, and so I couldn't imagine changing my name if someone asked me to change it. And so I was generally talking to my mom one day on the phone, and I asked her that, have you ever heard of something like this, that some women, they change their whole entire name after they get married? And my mom was like, oh, that was so common in the older generation. And I was like, what? I had no idea that this kind of thing happened in my family also. And later I found out that there are many kind of cultures, like communities within India, who used to have this practice that when a girl got married, they would ask her to change her whole entire name, like even her given name. And so then at that point of time, things started making a lot of sense to me, that after all, probably my great grandparents in their generation, the couples probably had matching names, because when the girl was married, she was asked to change her name so that her name matched with her husband. Like, when a Sham Lal got married, then the his bride would be asked to just become Sham Raini or whatever, something like that. So it was just kind of an eye-opening experience for me. I was like, I had no clue. I found out something new about my own kind of culture and heritage and everything, and I was like, so just I mean, to me, it's kind of unbelievable for me to change my name. But I mean, there are a lot of people who do it still. And later on I found out that there are, in my family, this hasn't happened for a few generations. Like, my mother did not change her name after she got married, like her given name. And even I did not change my given name after I got married. But it seems that in a few generations ago, this used to be fairly common. And it seems that there are people who still hold on to these kinds of traditions, because my the person that I kind of met in the US, she had changed her first name after she got married. So this was something that kind of, I don't know, it was something that I just couldn't forget very easily, and it's like very eye-opening experience for me. And so in my latest book, On the Bright Side, I have made kind of a reference to this kind of a cultural tendency of asking a bride to change her name after she got married. Right? I'm guessing that in the older generation, the purpose of doing something like this could have been that the girls used to get married when they were very young, and joint families were a norm. So she's going to have to leave her parents' home and now come and start living in her in-laws' home, where she has like a big family, or father-in-law, mother-in-law, or her husband may have siblings that live with them, and so it could be a big household. And now they want this new person to fit into this new situation, and every family has different routine and culture and everything. So maybe asking her to change her name could have been some sort of a signal from this new family, that now you're not that old person anymore. You're not going to be living that kind of a life. You have to adapt to our household and be like this dutiful bahu who will accept all of our traditions and the way of life that we expect you to lead. So it could have been something like that. That's my personal kind of view of the whole thing. But yeah, in this story, On the Bright Side, when Snehalata gets married, she is asked by her in-laws to change her given name because her name matches with her mother-in-law's name. And she agrees to do it. She doesn't object, because a lot of the nice, dutiful, non-rebellious girls, they are raised to kind of obey the elders. And if the elders are telling you to do something, more often than not, you're going to have to do that. And so if a girl like this, a girl like Snehalata, who didn't think twice before changing her name, if she is kind of raising kind of a her voice about a situation, if she is expressing displeasure about a particular situation, then that means that that situation is very, very serious for her. Like, she would not speak up about a problem until and unless it was absolutely unbearable. So, to find out more about Snehalata and what kind of a life she's living, do check out my latest book, On the Bright Side. And it's available on Amazon, both in ebook and paperback format. It's available in multiple countries. And that's all for this week. I'll see you again next week. Until then, goodbye.